smoking in the unit. And so I went and took your stickers and I put it on the door, I put it in the hallway, I put it on the outside, so I think they got the point now. We'll see what happens. Next we have Rob with JM Real Estate Capital. He's been hiding out. He's been having his buddy Ram come in, so it's about time that you get over here. But before I let Rob speak, just so you know, we do have 3 books we're giving away tonight. Never Split the Difference is provided by Tom at Thrasher Basement Systems. Also, we have The Advantage is provided by Austin at Orange Property Management. And we have Rich Dad, Poor Dad by GB Cleaning over there. And Gerard provided. So if you bring over a business card or write your name on a slip, we'll do a drawing for these 3 books at the end. I appreciate everybody bringing the books. That's super awesome. So, but with that, Rob, can you tell us a little bit about your company?
Absolutely. Guys, Rob with JM Real Estate Capital. You need money? I got lots of it. Yeah. Fix and flips, fixing holes, buying holes, new construction, up to 100% financing for your fix and flips, up to 90% loan to cost on your new construction, up to 85 LTV on purchases on your DSCRs, refinance up to 75 cash out or 80 rate and term, high leverage and low rates in all 50 states. Give me a call, number's simple, or grab a card. 844-WE-CLOSE. That's 844-WE-CLOSE. Give us a call. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Brady, we have Commercial Banking UMB, one of our newest sponsors. I can say it's been about 2 months now, right? Can you tell us a little bit about you and the services you provide and why you think that the RIA members could benefit from your services?
Hey guys, my name is Brady Prismas. Thanks, Ted. I'm a business banker at UMB Bank. We help business owners with all their banking needs, but we also help real estate investors. We finance real estate, so we'll finance any commercial real estate. We'll finance industrial buildings, strip malls, office buildings, and we'll also finance residential if it's multifamily, so 2 units or larger. So if you think that maybe we could work together in some capacity like that, we've got great terms. We work really fast, and I'd love to help you. So come talk to me if you think it might be a good fit. Thanks.
Thanks, buddy. And you guys got some Tic Tacs here. If you guys have some bad breath, go grab some Tic Tacs. We have Gerard, and Gerard was with GB Cleaning. He's been with us now for a few months. Probably, you have your own networking group too. Feel free to drop that. But on top of that, I have to give you a shout out, man, because you probably send me more contacts than anybody I've ever met in my life. So even if you're not using GB Cleaning for services, Gerard's just a great person to know. He's the only person you ever meet that is an actual doctor and sort of decided, hey, screw this, I'm going to start a cleaning company instead. He goes, but I can always go back to being a doctor. Will you tell us about your services and what you do for our potential members here?
Hey everyone, my name's Gerard Bacos. Going back to the medical doctor, it's a good safety net, so that's why I'm comfortable doing what I'm doing. So I own GB Cleaning Services. We do residential and commercial cleaning services. We think the RIA is a great resource for us because we do everything from post-construction, unit turnovers. We work with property management companies. You name it, any kind of cleaning, honestly. But I'm always looking to meet new people, even if we're not going to work together. A new connection is always good for us. So, thank you.
Awesome, appreciate it. Thanks, buddy. And we'll have Franco come up and talk in a minute. They're our tonight's event sponsor. Gerard is our drink sponsor tonight. We can't do this without these guys. So can we get a round of applause for all of our sponsors tonight? I really appreciate you guys. A couple things about what's going to go on tonight. I want to go over some information, but I also reached out to Paul Vacheski to come out here tonight. There is some new landlord-tenant laws that they're trying to pass, and I thought it was really important that Paul kind of give us a brief overview on this and how we could potentially, the things that we don't agree with or the things we do agree with, we can go to our legislators and give our opinions on it. But Paul, can you come up and take a few minutes to just tell everybody what's going on in the world? And by the way, if you guys haven't heard on RIA Radio, Paul had one of the best podcasts recently, so definitely read that out. Big round of applause, man. Thank you.
It was a lot of fun. You guys hear me? I appreciate Ted allowing me to do this because when it comes to the legislature and the things that's going on, time is of the essence, the way that the process works. And we're pretty much at the end of them introducing new bills. And now it's trying to get the bills out of committee into the general file where then they have a chance of becoming passed and becoming law. So this next 3 weeks is pretty dicey. And we really need people to contact their state senators. Now there's about 24 bills that are total that's been introduced that impact the landlord-tenant community. There's about a dozen of them that directly, and I'm going to cover these real quickly, and there's two I want to focus in on. LB 17 is the first one. This would prohibit landlords and property managers from collecting any fees outside of a security deposit. And if you charge any kind of an application fee, you could only charge the tenant the exact amount that you charge them for a background check or a credit check, and that is it. That's really going to be problematic for a lot of the property managers that, I mean, they've created fee-based property management business models, and so have a lot of landlords as well. So that's one to keep an eye on. Right now it's stuck in committee, which is a good thing. LB 92 is another one. It's the Residential Clean Slate Act. This would be essentially, once an eviction gets 3 years old, it would fall off, and you could not take it into consideration whatsoever. It goes on where you couldn't even ask about evictions on the application, and if you do ask, they can legally lie to you in that context. So that's LB 92. That actually had a hearing on January 30th. It has not come out of committee yet. LB 101 is the right to trial by jury for evictions. I think if there's one that is going to pass, I think this might be the one. So there's a history here. This a couple years ago, there was a Nebraska Supreme Court case called MP Dodge versus Holcomb, and Mrs. Holcomb was being evicted, but she moved out while the trial was, or the appeals were going on. And when it got to the Nebraska Supreme Court, they threw the case out because of mootness, basically meaning that there was no standing for her to bring a suit. However, 3 of the 7 Nebraska Supreme Court justices went way out of their way to give their opinion to say she has a right to a jury trial. That's a constitutional issue. And the 3 Supreme Court justices were putting a shot across the bow of basically the legislature saying, you guys need to fix this or we will. There is a new case making its way through the appeals process, whether the legislature does it or the courts. They only need one more Nebraska State Supreme Court justice to, that'd be 4-7 vote, and trial by juries will be an option for tenants. I think that in the next couple of years, if you're in the business, you have to prepare that this is going to happen. In many jurisdictions that have this already, it takes 6 to 9 months to get an eviction. So that's on the horizon. LB 185 provides for electronic notices. In case you don't know it, in the state of Nebraska, there's only 2 legal ways to give a tenant notice. That's hand delivery, that's first-class mail. I know a lot of us do it by text and email, but that's not really legal. And now that we have all the nonprofit groups going and helping tenants on eviction day, they're using that effectively to throw out evictions, saying that you serve the notice by text, that's an invalid service. And so Rob Dover, he's a real estate professional, a manager from Norfolk. He introduced this bill, and hopefully we can get it passed where it'll allow us to do electronic notices. We can use text, email, those type of things. LB 223, source of income as a protected class. If passed, then that would require every one of us to take subsidized housing vouchers. The interesting one about this that really no one's talking about is we always think of Section 8 and SIRHA, right? We would be required to accept that. What we don't know, because of the way that it's written, there's a couple of words in there, would we have to take, let's say you have a tenant that has no verifiable legal income, they have no job, nothing, but they get from the Heartland Family Services maybe their security deposit and 1 month's rent paid for them. Would we have to accept that? Pretty sure we would if this passes. It's come up every year and it hasn't made it out of committee. There's a difference this year. Lincoln has an initiative to get source of income as a protected class on the ballot, the local elections in May. If it passes down there, which it looks like it will, there's a couple of state senators on the fence. They don't want to support it openly because they don't want to be the first one out of the gate. They want another town like Lincoln or Omaha to pass first so then they can get on board. I think if you're preparing yourself that you're going to probably, I think in the next few years this is going to be a done deal. I don't know that it's going to happen this year, but you need to look on the horizon, okay, and prepare for that. 235, change trial deadlines. It just, right now we know that if you get an eviction, the constable has 10 days to get out there. Now it's going to be no less than 10 days. So basically, the tenant's going to get 10 free days to live there after the restitution order's been signed. 266, I'm going to come back to that one. 267, there is one in there, domestic violence protections. That would just mean that the victim is protected and the landlord would have to evict the perpetrator in this case. I'm pretty okay with that one. LB 287, what's that? No, there's a provision in there that it would be faster than that. And if the person that's left in there, the victim, if they don't pay the rent the next month, then we're evicting them for non-payment of rent. It's just a way to allow us to go out and evict the person that's committing the crime and the violence. So, 287, real quickly, this is a housing authority one. It's basically going to hold the housing authorities responsible for bed bugs, which they should be doing anyways. Anybody ever seen Jackson Tower? It's a mess. The worst landlord in the world is OHA. So it's on video, right? I mean what I said. LB 443, we're trying to get this one through the legislature. This would make squatting illegal. And it would give law enforcement tools to be able to remove a squatter. Because right now, good luck, right? So 443. 469 would have new eviction notice requirements. If it's passed, that means when we give our 7-day notices and we give our restitution notices and stuff when they're being served, we would have to notify the tenant of who can give them free money, their options for free legal help like legal aid, and a few other requirements we would have to include in the notice. 506 would require landlords to test for radon and mitigate. Okay, pretty simple. 587 would change the 14 30-day notice requirement for the tenant, not the landlord. In case you didn't know, the 1430 is for both landlord and tenant. It would change the 1430 for the tenant to serve us a notice to 7 and 14 days. We would still have to be 1430. They would be 7 and 14 for notice of defaults for anything other than non-payment of rent. LB 620 is the most dangerous one, and it got snuck in at the very last minute. It's called the Neighborhood Revitalization Act, and it's kind of an end around to our community. And basically what it's going to do is if there is a government municipal body, an owner or a nonprofit or an other interested party with a legal claim, other interested party is interesting, and they feel that your house, your commercial property, your industrial plot, your vacant ground is basically hurting their property value or is a nuisance to the community, they can actually sue you civilly. There are 2 jurisdictions that have a similar law that I'm very familiar with. One is in Providence, Rhode Island, and the nonprofits, they're having a heyday. So that's one of their tools to go after maybe a landlord or a property manager that they don't like. And HOAs. There is a community close to, I have a house in Florida, there's a community that has a similar law, and the HOAs have used this very effectively for behavior modification tools. So that one there that's 620. I think everybody needs to be concerned about that one. And 266 is the last one. This is the one that Rob Dover, senator from Norfolk, he introduced it. It would prohibit municipalities, local and county governments from implementing any kind of rent control. And we need to be proactive. We need to support this. If you don't do anything else or any one of these, reach out to your state senator and say, please support LB 266. If we can get that one on the books, because it's going to happen. It's not a matter of if, but when. Particularly and probably Lincoln and Omaha will be the first one. So I'm semi-retired now, so this is my full-time job. I have a newsletter called NebraskaLandlord.com. Just go to NebraskaLandlord.com and it'll ask you for your email address if you want to subscribe. I send out a weekly newsletter, and right now that's all I'm doing. I'm spending time at the legislature, keeping up on these bills and what's going on and trying to get the information out to you folks as quickly as possible. So, Ted, thank you very much. Felt like I gave birth.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks, brother. Appreciate you. And Paul still works at the Randall School of Real Estate. So if you guys need some amazing education for continuing ed, or if you're interested in being a realtor, I'm just going to give them a shout out. I've done all my courses there. Great group. So appreciate your help and your support, Paul. Also, just want to go over a couple of different things. Again, after the event, drinks are provided by GB Cleaning, so definitely stay for after networking. We find that the best networking happens after our events. Also, I want to do a shout out to Frankel and invite Jordan Downey up. They're a gold sponsor, and they offer Omaha RIA members a comprehensive solution that's tailored to our members. They also provide a 1 hour free $250 an hour gift card. Jordan, you coming up? Well, you're the sponsor. And so this is a service that they provide every year. There's quite a few members that have worked with them. And you're on the hook, bro. So, and one thing I like working with Jordan too is he's also a real estate investor. And so he's got properties, you have Airbnbs, and you've got a background of doing this for quite a while. So it's a little bit different take on it. He speaks at our events once a year, and we're going to have you on the podcast here in about a month or so, right?
Yep. We're gonna do
About to go deep. He's like, get that radio edit button ready.
podcast.
Come do it. So tell us a little bit about your company and the services you provide.
Awesome. Hey, thank you, everybody. We're very excited to be part of this group. Like, we do have, some of our staff. We're CPAs. We're a full-service accounting firm, and at the end of the day, like, we're here to help you. We're here to provide value to what you're doing. We're here to provide some knowledge, some information for you to ask questions and whatnot. That's part of why we come out and we, spend our time here answering questions. We do some presentations to kind of just help everybody understand and get comfortable with it, because everybody knows, like, actually pulling the trigger on these things has more consequences down the road, some good, some bad, but it's good to just kind of know what you're getting yourself into. We've got the background and the knowledge to kind of help out as well in a lot of different things. We do a lot of, big things all the way down to, your first rental. So we got the people who can help out. But a lot of times it's just helping with taxes and tax prep and stuff. But then I think it's also going beyond that and just being a good advisor and providing, the value and to help you just grow your wealth. And I think that's a lot of what we provide and what we try to do for everybody. So anyways, appreciate you all. I guess I'll be talking on a podcast here in a couple months, so look forward to that.
You're scared. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Thanks for being such a long sponsor of ours, too. Upcoming events. Our next luncheon is on February 21st. We held this at the rail car right off of 144th and Blondo. This is free and open to everybody, members and non-members. Please bring people. We got seating for about 45 people. We've had great turnouts to this event. I mean, we've been pretty much capacity now for the last few months in a row. But it's all about getting to know the people in the room. So there's no presenters. Everybody gets a chance to speak. If you want to promote your business, this is a great opportunity. But if you're looking for leads or looking for something in your business, this is also a great opportunity. So if you've never attended it, please do, and then spread the word. It's my take on how I'd like a networking event to go that isn't this. So also, we got an event March 4th with Jason Dries, and he's an alignment mindset coach. I put his flyers up on here, but Jason is, sorry, Mike, but Jason's probably the biggest name that we've ever brought in. So here it is. He wrote I think his book is called Do the Impossible, if I remember right. And he wrote for Bigger Pockets. He's been Brandon Turner's personal business coach for over a decade. Brandon's used to be one of the owners of Bigger Pockets, one of the biggest real estate podcasts in the world. He had over 100 million downloads on his stuff. He contributes all his success to Jason, which blew Jason up. We had Jason on the podcast, I don't know, probably about 6-8 weeks ago. Great interview, and then I asked him, I was like, hey, I just got to try. I'm like, dude, what will it take to get you to come to Omaha? Because he does keynotes. This is the guy who gets tens of thousands of dollars to be a speaker. He's like, buy my ticket, join my coaching program, and I'll come to speak. So for no charge, besides the cost to have him here and flights and stuff, he's coming to speak here for free. So this is a huge deal. I beg. I'm going to be embarrassed if this room isn't packed. So we're going to set the room up a little different, just so you guys know. We're probably going to do long tables all throughout the room, so we can get 150 plus people in the room. And if you'll probably get a phone call from John, our team admin, and just say, hey, you remember, please come to this event, so we can just get an idea of head count for that. So please let us know. Please RSVP on the Facebook or on omaharia.com if you can make it. Just give us an idea of how much seating we really need prep for that event, and I really appreciate that. Also, I just want to go over a couple of new and renewed sponsors for you, so you guys know. One of our renewed sponsors is Peterson Bros Realty, Property Management. I know Bree is here somewhere. Bree, they offer 25% off of their advertising for the first year. Also, Frankel renewed again for their 4th year. Thank you so much. And we have a new sponsor called Personalized Property Management by Jeremy Harper. Is Jeremy Harper here? Robert Anthony. Yeah, there. Hey, can you come over and give us like 2 minutes who you are? We always like to invite new sponsors up to talk about who they are. And then also, just so you guys know why he's coming up, we also have Snap House Real Estate. Is Chris in the house too? Chris Warren? Well, we'll invite him up next time. We tell us a little bit about your company and what you do.
Absolutely. Be brief, brother, be brief. Real quick, Evolve Realty, myself and a couple other couples decided to stand up a realty company. We didn't like where we were at, and we said, why not do it ourselves? So we did that. And along the process, we have about 70 or 80 properties between ourselves, and we said, why don't we have a property management company at the same time? So I know there's property management people in here that are saying, I hate this guy, we want your houses, when that's okay. There's enough houses to go around. So long story short, we stood up our property management company, and we're looking to get our foot in there. With that said, if you want property management, we're here for you. If you want title, we're here for you. And if you want to be a real estate agent that gets to do pretty much whatever you want to do, we're also here for you. So my name's Robert Anthony. Never trust a man with 2 first names, and I'm that guy. So you have a good night.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Okay, and before we get started here, just a shout out, we do have a podcast called RIA Radio with Owen Dashner. He's gallivanting somewhere in the back, and definitely say hi to him. We just had Mike Stoller, a former Navy officer, commercial pilot, and a thriving real estate investor. Mike shared his journey in transforming juggling countless tasks and building systematized, scalable real estate business. Really fun podcast. And then also we have our rundowns on Monday. We're just Owen and I kind of shooting a breeze. I apologize if you listen to that because a lot of it isn't all real estate until the end usually. And then tomorrow's release, we have Tapan Trivedi. So got some fun episodes, got some great people. We're getting ready to interview Amanda Hahn, which is, if you guys listen to BP, she's written a few books for them also. We're interviewing her on Friday, I believe. So we got some good stuff coming. But without any further ado, I'm taking up all of your time, Mike, so I want to get to you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome and thank you for being here tonight. We got an amazing session ahead. Whether you're a seasoned investor or a new landlord or just learning to not get sued and lose all your investments, but you're in the right place. Now let's talk about tonight's guest speaker, Mike here, a true expert when it comes to real estate and tenant law. Realtors get a lot of training in this stuff, but private landlords, not so much. And to be real, when it comes to fair housing and tenant laws, what you don't know really can hurt you, and it really can get into your bank account. So Michael's stacked of credentials, the CRS, the GRI, the ABR, the PSA, the SRES, and the NIFA. Basically, if there's a certification for real estate, he's probably got it. He spent his career making the buying, reselling, and renting process easier for everyone, and tonight he's here to do the same for you. Tonight's topic, Landlord Essentials, Understanding Fair Housing Tenant Law. It might not sound like the most thrilling topic, right, Mike?
It's very thrilling.
Yeah, but it is. But true, it's the most important. Michael will break down the key legal responsibilities, compliance strategies, and best practices so stay protected, stay profitable, and stay out of legal trouble. Now, Mike, when he speaks tonight, he wants a really interactive audience. And so with that, just so you guys know, I will have a mic in hand. If you are in a position where you can't get up, please raise your hand. I'll come to you, or Mike will come to you. Also, we have a mic right in the middle. Ideally, we love it if you go to that mic. That way we can queue up right when we have a break to be able to ask you the question, and then our viewers at home will be able to see who we're talking to. So with that, we get a round of applause for Mike. Thanks, buddy.
All right, thanks, guys. Thanks, Ted and REIA for helping us out.
What kind of drink should I keep up here as we're going?
No, just the water's fine. Yeah, I'm not gonna drink and all of that. You guys should. We got a super HDMI cable coming in, and you know what? After hearing Paul, I don't know if I'm gonna do the PowerPoint. But first off, I was listening back to some of our sponsors, so I got some cards. So Maggie in the back, it reminded me about the temptation for a landlord to say no drinkers and no smokers. That breaks fair housing laws. No drinking and no smoking is how you want to word that. So when I thought about that, I don't need a PowerPoint to tell you guys that. Anyone here, just raise your hands. Did you even know that? Yeah, there's a few here. Raise your hands, and I almost want like a poll. And I probably would have done this ahead of time, but I'm kind of new here. Raise your hands if you are a small mom and pop investor. Let's say you only have less than 5 units. Okay, so we have a few. This is who I'd like to target. Because LB 223 that Paul brought up is directly related to discriminating against income. So I looked a little bit about that in California. I've got lots of family in California and other states, by the way. Just closed the deal in Albuquerque, New Mexico, not even less than a month ago. They have 13 protected classes. So let's talk about LB 223. If I'm a landlord and I have somebody who crosses off all the applications, all the check marks, they are a viable candidate for my unit. But they have a Section 8 voucher. Is that a bad thing? It is not a bad thing. It's just a snapshot in time where this applicant is going to be allowed some type of subsidy, correct? So from the Nebraska point of view, because this is what's so unknown, and that's what concerns me, is the law is very general. I agree. It's 100% not a bad thing. But what if it only lasts for 2 months and I'm required as a landlord to fund the rest of the year? Could that be a possibility in Nebraska? I heard a yes. Raise your hand. Who said that? Yes. I agree with you. That is a possibility. But we don't know yet. So I'm not going to dog the law. We need to see where it's going to change. Has anybody been to the Capitol in the past week? I know Mindy, yep. But how about our mom and pop, the small landlords? Why weren't you there? Why weren't you there to meet the writers of these bills? They've been, like Paul have mentioned, they've been on the books for a while. And if you go to some of the other states, like let me just give you So a week ago, I was researching this, Paul, and California had an instance where somebody who was an applicant and qualified for Section 8, she abused the system. Had an attorney. Yeah. Okay, we can all joke about the abusing of the systems, but this is a real story. And anybody who's a landlord here, this is a possibility. So how do we prevent this so that it protects the public, the tenants, and the landlords at the same time? I'm not too sure, but this nice lady was nice enough to go to a landlord in California. Like I said, my family is I got lots of family from there, so I know some of these scenarios. And she was nice enough to just ask the landlord. They had one unit, and they said, hey, do you take Section 8 housing? And of course, it was against fair housing laws of California. She said no. And the attorney showed up and said, okay, I want triple the amount of rent plus $5,000 to settle. It was right under HUD's penalty. Of course they settled. She did it 25 times. How does this individual still qualify for HUD after she has the income, the documented legal income to do that? I don't want Nebraskans who are trying to help the public have that happen to them either. Do you guys agree with that? So, get involved. Go to the Capitol, talk to our representatives and say, you know what, this is happening around other states. I don't want it to happen here. How do we prevent that? At the same time, we need to protect the public. So we don't want to disclose that we are not going to discriminate against Section 8 housing. Because that law is definitely on the books. It's going to pass eventually, I'm guessing. But how do we manage it as landlords? And how do we protect the public? I've been in a scenario where I've had family when I was very young that maybe they could have qualified for Section 8. I don't know. But we weren't trying to take advantage of the landlords, right? So, let's go around. I want to see what some individuals have experienced with some fair housing scenarios. So this is just one scenario. Paul mentioned a few where the scenario is, just off the top of my head. So we have lead disclosure is changing, possibly. Maybe there's some other certain disclosures that are going to be changing. But how about what you do today to prevent or maintain your records, for instance? Prevent the scenario where you might be liable for fair housing. So for instance, day one when you meet a tenant, how about giving them a fair housing sheet that says, hey, these are all the protected classes federally and within the state. And have them sign it, you sign it, and say, hey, I brought this up to you. These are the protected classes. If you, as a tenant or a buyer, wants to break those laws, have you ever had somebody who said, I'm not going to sell to this particular class of person, or I'm not going to rent to this particular class of person? I have. You're fired. That's my point of view. I'm not going to represent somebody who wants to break fair housing laws. Do you guys agree with that? Amen. That's what I heard. Okay, I got to tell you guys a story. So, a very, very respected agent. And some of you guys might have heard this story. I think you have. Anyways, she's been in the business since the 70s. And she told me that she had her next door neighbor wanting to sell their home. Easy peasy, right? So, of course, she puts it on the market. They've got 6+ offers. And the number one offer, $15K, $16K more than number two. And this, of course, is a sale. This is not a tenant scenario. And they told the selling agent they will not sell to anybody who's Chinese. Yeah, we got some laughs in the room like, what? Are you kidding me? Is that even a real scenario? Yes. This is one-on-one with this agent telling me this. Okay. She was in a pre-license class that I was instructing, and she was just getting some continuing ed and went into the wrong classroom. That's how red flag number 2. And so I was like, perfect. Tell my pre-licensed students who are going to get their license soon what you did. He's like, oh, it was perfect, Mike. I got an addendum out, and I wrote on it, sellers won't sell to Chinese. And I do not agree with it, but that's the deal. And I told all, as the story goes, I told all my pre-licensed students, la 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 la, right? I didn't want them to hear that. But this is the important part of it. She closed on that deal. So I put it in a different point of view. I said, okay, I got to teach my pre-licensed students that this is just ridiculous. And so I did. I said, okay. Oh, gosh, I wish I could say her name. I'm not going to. I'm not done. No. So I said, okay, this is how it's going to burn you. Is there's going to be an open house party on offer number 2 when they want to introduce the neighborhood to their home, right? And the Chinese couple just so happens to be best friends with them at their church or whatever. And they get invited and they go to the house and they're like, oh my goodness, this house looks familiar. I really like this house. Oh, you know what? Didn't we put an offer in this on like 2.5 months ago, 3 months ago? And then their friends are like, oh yeah. Oh, by the way, we paid $15,000 less than you did. They call their buyer's agent, who then calls the seller's agent, and there's the story, right? But what about just the basic aspect of you're an agent and you just agreed to discriminate against somebody, whether you agree with it or not? These are real stories here in Omaha that it happens all the time. I just can't believe how common it is. I do another story with me. I'm from Chicago, so all my family's still in Chicago. I'm the only one here. And I think about the scenario where my family came in, post-Civil War, but before the National Association of Realtors was created, our ethics, But let's say a family member spoke Italian, they're from Italy, they come in, they go to Ellis Island, as it was typical of the day, and they decide to go to Chicago, where I'm from. Well, anyone here from Chicago? Just raise your hands. From Chicago, anybody? Please, there's got to be at least one. Okay. Okay, but you know that Chicago boasts the most ethnic neighborhoods on the planet. I believe it's up to 77. That's a lot of ethnic neighborhoods. Now let's put it in terms of a realtor or somebody trying to help a family finding housing, whether it's a tenant scenario or purchasing. Are they going to take them to Little Italy because my family speaks Italian? Yeah, they probably do today. I'll tell you what, I know plenty of realtors in Chicago, and you're wrong. It is for sure happening all the time. So this is what happens, just human nature. It's human nature. It doesn't mean they're bad. It's just human nature. But there are laws, fair housing laws, that even if you're being the nice guy and trying to say, oh, you only speak Italian, you're from Italy, but you're immigrating to the United States, wouldn't it be easier if you moved into an Italian neighborhood where everyone speaks Italian? You got the Italian restaurant over here, Italian church over here, and guess what? Everyone in the elementary school speaks Italian. That sounds nice, right? Yeah. But what if my family decided, you know what, I don't want that. I want to assimilate into America. I don't want my kids to have to be forced to speak Italian every day, to have to eat the same foods, go to the same church that we did when we were in Italy. I want to learn something new. Yeah, there's a weird fair housing complaint right there, possibly, right? So we have to balance the human nature aspect of it and what our clients need. So let's go back to a little bit about Paul, talking about some of our different legislative bills. And so originally I was gonna kind of do a PowerPoint, kind of do more of fair housing, but I thought this was more appropriate since Paul brought up some of these different bills that affect all of us. Let's talk about let's go back to the fair housing with income. We were talking about LB 223 and let's see. I want to know here, who does Section 8 housing? Do they focus on Section 8? Anyone? You guys come up. You guys, come on. Come on. I'm putting.
He's got a bad hip, so it's going to be really hard for him to get up.
So, well, look at that. You don't have to come up. We got a microphone right here. Let's talk a little bit about your benefits that you've had with Section 8 and aspects that you found to be detrimental for your business.
So on our portfolio, we probably have, 15% of ours is Section 8. So we're in Iowa, so we're SRHA. So Southern Iowa Rural Housing Authority is where we're at. What I like about it is it's a guaranteed money. So I'm assuming Section 8 is the same over here. They pay a certain percentage. Some pay a bunch, some don't. But that's the one thing that we do like about it is we're guaranteed X amount out of it. We've never had a problem with them so far. We try to screen them really good and stress you have to be clean, you have to do all these things. We have zero tolerance if you're not. So far, we've got along all right.
That's a good point, where you screen. I remember my very first tenant. Okay. So, it's like 25, 30 years ago, okay? I'm outside mowing the lawn like a new tenant landlord does, right? And out comes my tenant. Gosh, I hate saying this. Okay, so she just so happened to be working at an institution that deals with lots of dollar bills. And she runs up to me. She's like, Mike, first month, a stack of dollar bills. I'm like, can you exchange those for hundreds or something? I don't know how to make this in the right point of view. But you're right. You have to qualify your tenants. I never minded losing a few months of rent to get the right tenant. I've never, ever had to go through the process of eviction. I've never done it, 25 plus years. But I did lose money on rent because I wasn't sure if that was the right tenant. And you know what? I wonder if I broke fair housing laws back in the day. I might have. I'd have to go look back at it, but with my new information, with my new information of what's changing and being on top of the legislative bills, it makes all the difference in my business. It makes me more comfortable at night to know that I'm taking care of my clients, the public, future landlords, and Nebraska. I'm on your side. Anyone here who is a landlord, I am on your side. I go to the Capitol. I do what I can to lobby for us, Nebraskans. Raise your hand if you want me to continue to do that. Please. And I want you guys to help me out too. It's not just me. It's the landlords. We've got so much power, and then when you look at the Landlord-Tenant Act, it can maybe feel daunting that our tenants have more power than we do. There's nothing wrong with that, but I want it to be on an equal sharing where we're providing housing and they're benefiting, their tenants are benefiting. I was a tenant. I'm sure there's a lot of people in here who were tenants at one time. And I had some good and bad experiences. I want to have all Nebraskans who are landlords provide awesome experiences to the public, to our tenants. Is that fair? Yeah. And at the same time, we as investors can make money. There is nothing wrong with making money. But we also have to be fair to the public. And it's almost 8 o'clock. So I want to have some questions. Ted, do you help me out? Raise a hand if somebody has a question.
I'll come to you, but
Ted?
we'd love to have you stay in here too, so that way the people online can see you. I'll let you ask.
Hi there. Where do you work at?
I'm with the Gallery of Homes here in Elkhorn, Nebraska.
He's a realtor, and
I'll tell you a little bit about me.
Yeah,
How's
go ahead.
that?
Yeah, tell us.
I kind of skipped all that. Remember, I was going to do like a PowerPoint type thing, so sorry. So my name is Mike McGlynn. I'm from Chicago. I came to Omaha to go to my last choice school of Creighton University. I didn't even know Exarban was Nebraska spelled backwards when I came here. So how I got here is there was like a bus that Creighton had for seniors. It was free, and I was super poor. So I got on the bus and came to Nebraska to Creighton. And I was like, wow, everyone here is so nice. I'm not going to Notre Dame. I'm going to Creighton. And I did. I knew nobody here. All my family is still in Chicago. My wife and I are still here. We got 4 kids. I'm going to KC Thursday to go see my new granddaughter, who's either today or tomorrow. I got a grandson already. So my life is all about family, 100% about family. Anything I do with my business has to do about my wife, my 4 kids, my 2 grandkids. That is it. I do not care about much else in life except for that. But I love teaching real estate. So I went to Creighton, became, I was a paramedic. I was going to do medical school and all that. Became a medical geneticist. So I was a geneticist at Boys Town Research Hospital. Been published, blah, 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 blah. Was doing my PhD and found out we lost our grant. Had 6 months notice. And I saw these 50, 60-year-old guys and ladies who had no plan B. So I bought a $40,000 POS in downtown Omaha by Creighton. I knew nothing about rentals, nothing about how to renovate, and I did it. We lived in it. What? We lived in that home, turned it into a 3-plex, kept it for over 20 years, just kept rolling it, as everyone here does, right? Everyone kind of has a story similar to mine. And here I am. What's that? Don Keaton and Valerie Keaton. Yeah, they used to own Apple back in the day. Well, the Remax franchise too.
I got some questions for you to start it off here. So, what are some of the biggest fair housing violations that investors and landlords unknowingly commit?
Knowingly commit?
Unknowingly.
Oh, unknowingly. I'm going to say that Nebraska is unique, where we don't have that income. And that's why I wanted to bring up the LB 223. Is you have to be aware of this, because this is where you're going to get caught. Because of my story from California, where you have the individual who knows the law, and then they go call you. You're a mom and pop, you've got 1 unit, and they say, oh, I've got a Section 8 voucher, but the law has passed in Nebraska, and it's now a protected class. And if you say no, I don't take Section 8, I'm sorry, but that might bankrupt you. So it's about understanding what's coming up. And if you're a mom and pop, maybe it's not the right business for you because it's changing fast. Though, we did hear from some property managers over here. Who was the last one who was just on the microphone? I can't see you. Did he leave? Okay. So think about that. You know, it might cost you 10% or what have you. Maybe negotiate a little bit for yourself. But if you don't have the time to follow these laws, you will get caught. And it might be an oversight, not a situation where you're trying to protect the public. I'm not saying that income verification is bad for fair housing. I'm saying as a small mom and pop, you might not be able to keep up with the changes that might increase your risk liability.
Hi.
Please.
What happens if your house doesn't qualify for Section 8? So if that scenario happens, and it's not that you can't say no, but your house doesn't qualify for it.
Okay, so that's a new risk. So you're gonna have to maintain the property. You're gonna have to have this inspection. So all these are unknowns that I want you to be aware of. The changes are coming, but I agree with you. If your house isn't qualified, what if the law states 100% of all landlords have to make their property qualified for Section 8? Hypothetical, but that could happen, right? I don't know that. We're not there yet, but that's part of our lobbying. That's part of what RPAC does. I mean, Kyle right here, stand up, Kyle. He is one of our top RPAC lobbyists in the state. He gives tens of thousands of dollars to help senators and our representatives realize that, yeah, this might be good, but this part of the bill doesn't make sense to the public. Help us rewrite it. Does that make sense? This is very new. I have to say that.
You want to at least say what RPAC is?
Yes, RPAC, well, everyone knows what PAC is, right? Political Action Committee. The Realtor Political Action Committee is what I'm talking about. So there's a group of us in this room, and I can recognize some of you, that we actually physically go down to the Capitol, and we lobby for all of you. Not only the public, because that's our first goal. We're lobbying for the public. We want to protect the public, right? We want to protect their rights first. But what about the landlord public? They're part of the public too if they're not realtors. So we want to support those changes as well. Just like I mentioned how we don't know where the bill is today, but it's in the committees. I mean, literally right now, they're all discussing it. And we can all be part of the change. We can say, well, I don't think it's reasonable that I have to accept a Section 8 voucher if they can only afford 3 months out of a year. That's an example. Any other questions that I could handle there?
I'll keep asking them unless somebody comes
Yes,
up here.
please.
So are there any Nebraska specific for housing laws that go beyond federal regulations?
Just Creed and, excuse me, I gotta back up here. So we have Creed, which would be, for instance, we were talking about it earlier, let's say you're part of a certain religious sect that you recite a creed. So for instance, the Apostles' Creed for Catholicism. Well, there's multiple different sects of the Catholic religion, and some don't recite that. Some recite other creeds. Well, let's say you have some type of housing, and you're like, yeah, that guy's a weirdo. I'm not gonna follow that creed. I'm gonna discriminate against him. Can't do that. Age. I don't know, that seems like a no-brainer to me, but not being able to discriminate against age. For instance, I had this one nice gentleman showed up to an open house. He was in a typical car that maybe somebody 18 and somebody in high school would drive, and he still had on his uniform that he was working, kind of a blue-collar worker. And he came into my my model, and then treated him just like I did everybody else. Didn't matter who he was. And he said, Mike, I'm buying a home today. New construction home. So, okay. Move forward. Talked about lending. He's like, no, I'm going to pay cash. Okay. Let me clarify that. Let me make sure that your banker is going to send me the letter. He did, like 15 minutes. Great. Let's do the contract. We moved forward, did the contract. Everything went great, ground up, build. And 6 months, 7 months later, when everything was closing, I'm at the house, and all of a sudden, all these huge, just gorgeous, like limos, black Lincolns show up. Like, is this your family? He's like, yeah, some of them. All right. He just so happened to be the great-grandson of one of the original Berkshire investors. But I didn't change anything I did. I could have. I could have said, yeah, there's no way this kid is buying a home today. But I didn't. I moved forward just like I treat everyone else. If you treat everyone else the same 100% of the time, you will never have issues with fair housing unless you're the biggest bigot in the world. Have a system. If you don't, especially landlords who are not realtors, who don't know this, maybe you're just an investor. Maybe you have lots of properties as an investor. You just never became a realtor. And maybe your realtor finds the properties for you to invest. Please learn about fair housing laws, because Nebraska's pretty calm when it comes to that. But with these new laws, they will be expensive for you if you do not understand how to protect the public with fair housing.
Mike, can landlords refuse to renew a lease for any reason, or are there any restrictions?
To repeat, can a landlord
just refuse to renew?
Refuse to renew a lease for any reason. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I think you caught me on one I'm not 100% sure on. I'm going to have to think about that. I'm not sure. Hey, Paul, where are you? You got to know.
He took off. You got to go back at home.
Real estate attorney. There's got to be a real estate attorney in here. Nobody?
She said raising the price.
I don't like the term any reason. That's why I'm not going to answer that. I'm not sure.
Okay, so here's another one. What protections do tenants have regarding repairs and maintenance, and how should investors handle tenant complaints?
Okay, so tenants, anytime you have a complaint, if you're a tenant, hopefully the landlord has provided that avenue. So let's think about it from a landlord point of view. Another system that you need to have. How do you want your tenants to follow up with complaints? What's the timeline you require? Are you a digital person? Do you want wet signatures? Who are you as the landlord? And how about your tenant? What if your tenant uses email, but they're not very good at with it, and maybe they didn't digitally sign anything? That's important to know. That maybe you need a different communication method that's solidified with that complaint. So that's step one. You want to have that system sit down in advance. As for The type of complaints, so let's say the furnace goes out right now. It's pretty cold out. Does everyone know how to handle that as a landlord? Well, of course, get it fixed. Of course. But we do have, some time constrictions. Your tenant can actually decide that, you know what, you didn't fix it fast enough, I'm out. There are consequences to that. Correct, Ted?
You're the master here, so that's why. I just assume get a space heater in there as fast as I can until
I
it
like
get
prevention.
fixed.
I love prevention.
Okay, I want to switch a little bit to short term. In regards to short term, do fair housing laws apply differently to short term rentals such as Airbnb, VRBOs versus long term rentals?
Actually, that I'm not sure, but I would highly doubt it. I'm not sure.
And what are the fair housing considerations when offering rent incentives or discounts to certain groups, such as veterans or seniors?
Okay, that's a good question. So you need to be able to accommodate every class. You can't just, unless the federal government states, okay, veterans can qualify for this particular situation. But always preventative. You treat everyone the same. You have your systems of, okay, my tenants fill out this form. Every tenant fills out the same form. It's never different. Do not ever have a different form for anybody. It sounds simple, but for some reason, a lot of landlords don't. They might have, I was just I was at a for sale by homeowner just about a week ago. And holy cow, she was breaking tons of fair housing laws. And I was trying to help her out, and she did not want to hear about it. I'm like, all right, we're not putting an offer on because my client's not comfortable with that. To her face. That's from my client. It happens all the time. We've got a question.
Hi, thanks for coming tonight and sharing your knowledge.
Thank you.
What if we have someone, I'm a landlord, what if we have a potential tenant show up and they don't speak the same language as us?
Perfect. This is a great one. Okay.
A couple follow-ups to that.
So 20 years ago, very difficult. Very difficult. There are so many apps right now that will translate just fine. But let's say from a real estate attorney's point of view, the answer would be all of our contracts are in English, and that is all we're going to put them to. If you're a landlord and you translate those into another language, you are liable, unless you're an attorney. And if you're an attorney, converting our contracts from English to another language, you're really liable, because you're an attorney stating, oh, I know this translation of the language, and I am going to put my legal license on the line in order to translate it. Not smart. Don't do that. The best thing is, just as always, day one, to your tenants or a client, if you are a realtor who is selling or helping somebody buy a home, please get advice from a realtor, a real estate attorney about these contracts. Give them a blank contract that says void on it so that they can review it and send it to somebody who's a professional. Be the source of the source, right? The minute you start translating, I speak Spanish. I have a Spanish literature degree. Not in a million years have I done that. What do you say?
What do I say to these people?
No,
that come and
what have you
speak another-
done?
Well, I just gave them what I had,
Yeah,
which was the typical way I do it with every tenant.
and let them handle it.
Okay, that answers my question, I guess.
Do you agree?
I do agree.
Okay.
I would think the onus would be on them to have their
Absolutely.
translator look
100%.
it over.
100%.
So let's say, this hasn't happened to me, but let's say this person then has somebody to translate it and they become my tenant, but they don't speak a lick of English and I don't speak their language. I use a software and it says in my lease that you have to go through this particular software for communication if something breaks, you have a question, etc. And they say, I don't know how to communicate with you because I only speak Spanish, so they send me something in Spanish, I don't know what they're saying. How do you work through that?
So I have a few times, but I never put it in writing that was required by my tenants to do. It was more of a scenario where I would ask them, who is your trusted translator? Or, worst case scenario, I've helped, for over 20 years, I can't even count the number of Bhutanese and Nepali families I helped. There were no translating. So even Google didn't have that until recently. So I found somebody who actually was a translator at a hospital, and I paid him.
What if I didn't want to pay them? Would the onus be on the tenant to have somebody
Yes,
come in?
it is always on them.
Okay.
I did that out of the goodness of my heart.
It's very kind of you.
And if you do not want to do that, all you need to do is decline their application.
Huh.
I'm not confident they understand this contract. They are unwilling to get a legal translator. I offered them services, declined, blah, 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 blah. They wanted to use their daughter, who is 12.
Yes, that's kind of
That
how this is
is
going.
where the red flags go up for me.
Okay.
And I said, hey, I got a professional service here, and you don't want to use it? Maybe we're not a good fit. That is not breaking the law.
But you offered that professional service.
Absolutely.
What if I did not? What if I chose not to offer that professional service?
I would say ask your real estate attorney.
My attorney. Okay, yeah.
I don't think
None of
today,
it didn't go past them
today in
seeing the house,
Nebraska, I'm going to say you're probably okay, probably in the clear.
but tomorrow,
But what are we here for? It's to help the public.
right,
Can't we find a way? There has to be a way.
always.
Whether you want to or not, that's where I would go. It was not expensive for me to use a professional translating company. It was not. And that's how I do business.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I got about 15 minutes here, so I'm going to wrap up with a few more questions with you. What would a real estate investor do if they were accused of a fair housing violation?
Ooh, wow, that's an awesome one. So, if you're accused of a fair housing violation, your documents have got to be solid. Let's think about the California example where the lady was going around and accusing people of not taking Section 8, but she's abusing the system. So let's say you're one of those landlords. If you do not have anything written down regarding that a situation, and it has to be with every tenant. I mean, you can't just pick and choose. So what I did to change that for me in my business, I used to like take notes with my clients, but you know, it's kind of like I hear a little bit, I write a little bit down, I can't even read my own notes. So I went to AI. So for a year, I used otter.ai, OTTER.ai, as my transcription. So I just said, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, buyer, tenant. On my phone, it's a transcription thing. It records both of our voices to the point where it like tags my voice, says, oh, this is Mike talking right now. And then I can tag whoever my clients are. And I said, I'll give you a copy of it if you let me record it, because sometimes I miss stuff. And maybe sometimes, do you think sometimes the tenants, clients, don't hear something? I got somebody right now who is wanting to know about their escrow account. I closed on that new construction home over 10 years ago, and they're like, I don't remember that our taxes from new construction were going to get reassessed. I'm like, I wish I would have had that transcription software then. But Otter AI is not as good as I like right now. It's not as accurate. So there are some new ones coming out. So look for that. Try to make your life easier. I mean, I have no problem with having everything recorded and giving it to my clients. I have no problem with that. Because I know, in generally, I'm on the up and up. I'm not here to steal from them. I'm not here to break fair housing laws. I'm here for them. If I make some money off of it, that's awesome. But I'm not here to disparage the public in any way. Is that good, Ted?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking specifically like ways and tricks around, you know, the interview process with a potential tenant. And they're like, hey, you know what? If you're not a property manager and you're doing it yourself, you know, this one guy's like, hey, I like to do my interviews inside the person's house. That way I can see how clean it is. Another person's like, hey, I like to look at the car they're driving and seeing how much crap is in the inside of it, because if the car is full of crap, then the apartment's gonna be full of crap. Can I use that in my leverage? Can I say, hey, you didn't pass my test? This, you know, you have your application here. You do check all my boxes, but you're dirty as hell. I saw your house, or I saw your car. Am I gonna get in trouble if I say that's the reason I didn't accept somebody?
So Ted, as long as you do that for everybody, then I think you're good.
Okay.
And I think it's wise to do that. Who here is messy in their car? There's a handful of us. And then there's some of us who are super anal. And it's like, I grew up with a kid, my best friend, his first car in high school, he put new towels on the floor mats and cleaned them every day. I'm not kidding, high school. He's still my best friend, by the way. Could you guess what career he went into? Accounting. So there's that extreme of it, but right? You have a tenant, you have a few tenants. Let's say you have a couple. Let's say they just got married. One shows up, their car is pristine, the other is, oof. I've used that since day one. It's a human nature thought process, not a discrimination. It's who am I dealing with here? Who is the decision maker? Who is going to pay my rent on time? And who is not? That's all I'm looking at day one. But am I actually discriminating against them yet? Yeah, maybe in my mind, but once I get the application, and remember, it's across the board. I want it to be the same for everyone. Maybe you add a little box that says, are you going to keep my home clean as your vehicle? and you ask everybody the same question, that's valid.
It's the only reason that I do Airbnbs. I don't want to deal with people's dirtiness. So
Exactly. You were asking about like fair housing with Airbnbs and stuff. I'm like, I've never done one, so you caught me off guard a smidgen, but that is an awesome question. And all I can say is it probably does.
you can post it on our Facebook group later, and we'll.
I need to think about I need to like word it appropriately.
What if somebody puts false information on their rental application?
That's fraud.
It comes to fruition later. We have the right to get out of that or ask them to leave. Correct?
So documentation.
Yep.
The same thing. If you document, everybody fills out the same form. If somebody declines to fill out one of your forms, they're not a tenant. They're out. Right?
Yep.
That's how I do business.
So something came up. We were doing our interview with Paul Duchesky on RIA Radio, and he mentioned with the lead-based paint that you should be keeping that those documents forever, because. And
Can I follow up on that?
Yeah, please. Can you tell people why that's important for the people that didn't hear that? So,
being a realtor and getting into the real estate business by transforming my first piece of junk house into an investment property, there was for sure asbestos in there. I still have the documents from EPA when they cleaned and did the Superfund site. So anyone here own any property that has been remediated by the EPA on a Superfund? So a few. It's back. You can go on the EPA site in Omaha, search any address, and you will discover that maybe a property that you had cleaned, like I did 20 plus years ago, is now needing to be cleaned again. And I didn't even request it. So this is the practice from a real estate buy, sell side that I took into practice maybe 5 years ago. I have everybody sign the lead thing. And this is why I do it. There's chemicals in every property. So why not just have them say, you know what, FYI, here's the lead booklet, here is the radon information. I don't know if your house has it or not, but I want all of my clients to know that this isn't just a form that you sign because your house lives here. This is, hey, lung cancer, number 2 cause of lung cancer, radon. Here, publicly saying it for the first time. I have lung cancer. Had it before COVID. It has to be from radon. I don't smoke. Does everyone remember Superman, the movie? His wife created the radon disclosure as we know it to this day because she died from lung cancer because of radon. Just tell all your clients there's chemicals in the house. Just tell them. And you know what, little kids? Think about it. Radon in the basement, I don't care if it passes whatever the EPA thing says. Just frickin' put the remediation fan in. What is it, 1,500 at most?
Unless it's a crawl space, then it's a whole nother game.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, but it's like, why test for it? Just put it in. That's because of real life experience.
I used to sell radon back in the day when I used to work for Thrasher. Tom, I think
Okay.
Billy was in here somewhere, I think still. And Tom, I don't know. But anyway, so, I mean, you're running into houses. People thought you were lying to them.
Yeah.
But like sometimes it was come back at like 40 picoliters. I think the number was the 3rd highest radon in the country. Nebraska's in the top 5. And I think if I
Definitely.
remember right, like every picoliter is equivalent to 2.5 cigarettes a day. And they consider it was anything below 3 is safe. I don't know if Tom's here to back
4.
that up. It's been a while. 4. Okay, it's been a while. So definitely check that out because there's a lot of people that we went to and talked to, and their spouse died.
Yeah.
Never smoked. So it's an important thing. One thing I did want to throw up too, because when we did that interview too, Paul mentioned with the lead-based paint, and the reason I bring this up, and it's so important, is he literally got sued because, so he brought it up in a federal lawsuit. He did a flip and had a rental, only owned it for 1 year, but there's no time period when it comes to lead-based paint. No. So everybody that was still alive that owned that house was named in the lawsuit. And so,
yeah, could you imagine that 100-year-old home?
And I think the minimum for his lawyer, I think he said was either 30 or 50,000 just for the federal attorney, and then they settled for 20,000. But there was a couple of people fought it, and even a couple of them won, but they still paid over 150,000 in legal fees, and but because he could show that he had the documentation. And even though he had the documentation, he still did the buyout because the cost of fighting it was going to be so great.
The old buyout, right? And that's our risk as landlords.
As a real estate agent, you've got to keep your documents for 7 years, right? But if you, as a landlord, you also have to keep all your leases and everything for 7 years, correct?
That is what I know currently, yeah.
But it's in your best interest just to create an internal file cabinet, and that knows it never goes away, and then
can I say one thing to that? There's nothing wrong with getting rid of your documents when they're no longer legally required, because I guess what? You get a lawsuit year 10 and you still have those documents. Those are admissible. So a protection from a landlord point of view, hoping you're not breaking the law, is risk management. Get rid of the documents you no longer need, that are not required by law. It's just risk management, worst case scenario, like Paul experienced. I'm wondering if Paul was able to get rid of that stuff. I'd have to talk to him about it, but I kind of remember a little bit about it to see what he would do different. Yeah, me too. I just closed on my last one a couple months ago. I'm waiting for the market to go down so I can buy. In Florida, maybe. I think Florida would be good.
I do have a question about lead. So as a realtor, I always go to the Superfund site and download the clean letter and create a PDF of the information that's on the website and attach that with the lead document. Is
I
that
wish
the right
more
thing
would
to
do that.
or not to do?
I would always do that.
Yeah? Okay.
And I
And then I
applaud
have them
you.
sign that off.
I
Sign off
applaud
on
you for
that,
doing
too.
that.
Say it again?
I applaud you for doing that.
Oh. I was also told that lead should always, like for an example, I use .loop, so lead should always have its own file as well. So as you're creating your files of your documents, maybe your listings and your purchase agreements,
Actually, I don't know
that
about
was
that.
for Paul, so you know he's kind
Well,
of God.
Paul will know
yeah,
way
whatever
more
he
than
says, I do.
For sure, especially locally. Yeah.
Thank you.
Does anyone here not know about the Superfund site? Just wave your hand if you have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm gonna go on my computer and let's show you guys. Can you guys hook me up in the back? I was gonna make fun of Jeff Beals because last time he said he found a book of his in a bookstore. Well, I met Jeff Beals when he first came back here. I know they've grown up together, but he was gone for a while, and then he started getting on the radio again. That was like right around the time I was starting to get into real estate in the 2000, 2001, something like that, like pre 9/11. And I do have a copy of his first book. Okay, so Superfund sites. Using that. No, it's okay. I'm gonna get my phone and get a hotspot here. So, there's this guy from New York, and he unfortunately experienced a squatter in his mom's home. And basically what happened was he went through all the processes to make sure that he could get his mom's home back, and realized, wow, it's a little bit more difficult than he thought. So he contacted the sheriff's, police, and said, what do I do to get my mom's legal rights back? Basically, a whole family moved in, maybe 5 to 8 of them, and he decided to put things in his own hands. SquatterHunters.com. I am not kidding you. This guy was brilliant. He's recruited people all around the United States in different locales, and this is what he did. This is how it made his experience, horrible experience for his mom at work. He said, you know what? If they can squat, I can squat too. Had his mom create a lease in his name, watched the human behavior. What are these squatters doing? When are they in and out of my mom's house? They left. He broke in, had the police on call. The squatters came back and they were shocked at their police. How did we get lamboozled by the owners? And it worked. He got guys across the street. He said, you know what? If all this stuff in my mom's driveway is still here tomorrow, it's yours for free. Just take it off. And he was nice enough to let the squatters, he's a nice guy, gave him a day and a half to get their stuff out of the house, but it worked. So he created this company. So if you ever know anybody, whoever has a squatter problem, SquatterHunters.com. But the lead registry, that's where we're going at. So I'll just show you an old property here. You can see it was tested in 2003. They fixed up the soil, and basically what they do is they take it like 1.5 foot of soil, the whole entire yard, and put back new soil, put down new sod. If it's painted, has lead inside out, they scrub it all down, redo it. What a nice benefit to your homeowner if they live in this area, right? And what's even better is the nice lady who came up earlier, can't see, oh, there you go. As you can see, we can say, oh, look at this. Something I can attach to my seller property disclosure statements, or give to my tenants to state that EPA came in here, look, signed nice and, Steve Kemp's signature is so pretty. And there we go. So you got something too?
Yeah, so then on the lead disclosure, do you state that the seller has no knowledge or has knowledge? So here's the disclosure.
Can you speak to the mic, please?
Sorry, usually I have such a loud mouth.
So on the seller property lead disclosure statement where it says the seller or buyer might have knowledge.
Right, and here's the info, same as you pulled up. So
Good.
does he have knowledge or does not have knowledge?
So of course they had knowledge and had it remediated.
Okay,
So words are important.
they are, that's what I'm asking.
That's right. So I'd say they had knowledge and has been remediated. Here's the proof. I don't have current knowledge of it, right? Unless they're a lead, worker or something, I don't know. Worst case scenario. So that's something you can provide to your buyers and sellers, is to have proof from the EPA. And like I said, what I do for my business practice is every home has chemicals in it. I'm giving all my buyers and sellers the lead booklet. I have them initial it. But let's go back to fair housing, since this was all about, right? I also give all my buyers, sellers, tenants a one-piece sheet that goes over all the protected classes of fair housing day one. If they say to me, for instance, like my story of the one agent who wouldn't sell to Chinese, if they say that to me, I'm not hiring them. It's not happening. If they bring it up, wanting to break fair housing laws later in the contract, they're fired. And I'm telling that to them on day one, because I want my agents to hire first, not try to get their clients to hire them. If you put it that way, all of a sudden your agents take control of their business. And why deal with somebody who's like that? I don't want to deal with somebody who's a bigot. I mean, what a waste of time. And they're putting my license at risk. They're putting costs. I mean, we can go into all the negative stuff for us. But I don't want to do business with someone like that. So why should you? With that, Ted, I'm going to leave it at that.
And if we want some of those documents, because somebody reached out to you, or do you share some of that? So if somebody wants to reach out to you, what's the best way to reach out? We'll put it up on the screen. Okay. I'll finish what I was going to say while you do that. Hey guys, well, so thank you guys so much for coming out. There's a couple things we'd like to conclude before we all take off. I got my notes here somewhere. First off, is there anybody that's never been to a REIA event? Can you raise your hand if you've never been to this event? There's a handful of you guys. Okay, so when I do see that, I always ask a question. You're probably looking to invest in something or get to know somebody that's doing the same thing you want to do, right? So I'm gonna ask a few things. We do this every month. But if you guys invest in multifamily, can you raise your hands so we can see who those people are? Okay. If you invest in single-family rental properties, where's our single-family rentals? Where's the people that invest in storage units? I know we got Ben. I know Brad Bader does. What about commercials? Anybody invest in commercial, strip malls, whatnot? A couple guys. Anybody invest out of state? We'll count Iowa, or if you're in Iowa, then in Nebraska. Couple. And any wholesalers? Anybody willing to say that they're a wholesaler in the room? Rehabbers or flippers? Anybody doing flips or rehabs? What about short-term or mid-term rentals? Anybody doing short-term, mid-term? Anybody doing hard money or private money loans? I know definitely Rob's doing them. What about property managers? Any property managers in the room? Oh, there's a handful of them. A couple of them out at the bar already. And any contractors in the room? Anybody contractors looking for some business? Nice. And what about investment real estate agents? Any real estate agents specialized in investments? A couple of hands. Definitely the people you want to talk to. Also, we're about to give a book away here in a minute, so if you haven't put your name back there, definitely give it to Rob in the corner. We'll give that away here in a second. It's an open mic, so if you guys have something you want to shout out real quick or something you're looking for in your business, this is your chance to get on the mic. And don't be shy. Well, you guys tricked me. I thought you were going to go on the mic, and then you just kind of zoomed right past it.
Thank you for having me tonight. Alan Weiss, Papio Valley Nursery, mulch, annual flowers, any property management companies, come talk to me before you take off. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kendra Hiley with Gotcha Covered. We do custom window treatments, so everything from blinds, shade shutters, draperies, to outdoor awnings and screens.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm Michael Schluter, Mick. I'm the founder of Omaha Heal Center, So Clean We Heal. I'm your carpet cleaner and your best friend to help get your home like new. So if you have carpet, upholstery, area rugs, I also go through with a black light. So if you need to have anyone verify that's what that is, or just have a walkthrough. I'm a professional carpet cleaner. Been doing it since 2020, and I can help save your carpets. And I have ozone as well. So if you need somebody who can really make it wonderful in your home, and I'm just there for you. Michael with Omaha Heal Center.
Thank you.
My name is CJ Monahan. I own Monahan Lawn Care and Property Services. We're a full-service lawn and landscape company for both residential and commercial properties. We can do anything from your basic mowing and fertilizing to any property cleanups. We have an install and design landscape team as well that does softscapes, retaining walls, paver patios, fire pits, lots of snow removal, holiday lights as well, irrigation. We're your number one stop. So thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Hi, I'm Angela Markham with Set the Stage. We have home staging services, but we also sell our furniture. So if you are a property owner, you have a long-term rental, or maybe you just own a property and you're interested in midterm rentals or short-term rentals, and that furniture aspect is a barrier for you, we can help. We can help service your home in the form of doing kitchen cutlery, linens, anything that a short-term or midterm rental will need, as well as furniture. So Set the Stage, Angela Markham.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, before we go, let's do our book drawing. Rob, you want to bring that up here and do it, or you want me to come back there? Okay. Making me walk, you get my exercise. Jeez, Rob. Okay, we might get a little crackly here, I apologize. There we go. Okay, so first off, we got 3 books we're giving away. We got Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, actually one of the best books I've ever read in my life. It's given us by Thrasher, Basement Systems, Tom Bilyeu. And so you can pick one of the 3. We also have Rich Dad Poor Dad by GB Cleaning. And we have The Advantage by Austin Compton down at Orange Property Management. So when you guys donate books, feel free to put your card in there. Or if you read a book and bring it back, we will do this and shout you out for doing that. So our first winner is, drumroll, Brian Free from Virtue Active. Are you still here, Brian? There we go. Brian, who owns your company? Do you have a partner? Okay, so he spoke the first year I took over the RIA about your guys' services. Which book would you like?
I'll take Never Split the Difference.
There we go.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Hey, just so you know, Chris Voss is the headliner for the Bigger Pockets in Las Vegas. So in case you're going, he's going to be the keynote there. Yeah. Next one. Angel Harden. There we go. Come on down. There's the music. You're going to go Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or The Advantage? There we go. Thank you. And our last winner is Robert Anthony Sr. We already had you up here with Evolve Realty and BT Realty Group. You have to be present to win. 3, 2, 1. You're out. Next one is Paige Mance with Well and Good. Paige? Man, the odds are getting better and better. Omaha Healing Center founder Michael. Where you at, Mike? There we go. Oh, yeah. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Have you read that yet?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. No,
Give it to a friend.
Give it to a friend. And would you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And do you want to do one more drawing for a shirt, or how do you want to do it?
T-shirt. Raise your hand. No.
There we go. Awesome. Thank you so much. Big round of applause for all the guys who donated the books. We really appreciate that. Hey, before you go, just so you guys know, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, RIA Radio. We have a podcast, RIA Radio. And also, we have a newsletter. Sign up. We have about almost We're like just shy of 10,000 people on our newsletter. We're really trying to hit that 10,000 mark. So if you want to join the newsletter, there's a QR code on there. And if you love what we put out, please give us a review on whatever format you Google, Facebook, it all matters to us. And then we'll put Mike's information on the screen right here. Aiden, can you throw that up? And if you want to reach out to Mike, get some information, definitely reach out to him. And we'll find out what all these CRS, what does that mean?
Well, let's not focus on that. I want to focus on the legislative bills. So call me if you have questions about that. I stay in touch with the senators, representatives, and stay on top of what's current. So if you want a specific question answered, I'm your go-to. I'll help you guys out with that, okay?
And also educator at the Omaha Board of Realtors. So it does lots of classes over there. Definitely check out all the stuff he's got going on. Thank you guys so much. I hope that we get to see you guys for the drinks and hanging out and festivities at the end of the bar. And we hope to see you next month with Jason Dries. Please mark your calendars. The seating is going to be completely different in here. We're super excited to have him. Appreciate you guys very much. Have a blessed night. Talk to you guys later.